Oh my gosh, I am. That's all I have to say about this episode of Ready to Love on the OWN Network. Stay tuned. Hi there, Simply Subbies. Welcome back to the Simply Stacy YouTube channel. It's your girl, Stacy. And today we are doing another reality roundup, reality recap, Ready to Love, season number 5. They call it 4. Episode number 4. It's called Out of the Comfort Zone. And it starts out in the Gentleman's Lounge. Let's get right to it. The men will have the power this week. If you guys recall, last week the ladies had the power and they did send Mr. Carrington, Mr. Party Promoter, home. And now, I don't know how many guys we're down to. I think we're down to 9 guys. Well, one went home, so we're probably down to 8 guys right now. Okay, so first date is up. It is Aisha and Frank. So Aisha is the beauty salon owner. I believe she is 38 or something like that, 37, 38. And then we have Frank, who owns, I believe, a bar or a restaurant or something like that. I can't remember what they put at the bottom of the screen, but that's what he does. They are at a pool hall. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. There's an air hockey table. There's pool. So I don't really know if it's a billiards pool hall or just a place where they have games with bars. It is empty. They're the only people there. He does say that his very first connection was with her. And, he gives out all the compliments. He likes that she is a mother, and he likes that she has 2 kids, a boy and a girl, their ages. He goes into 13 and 15. And I'm like, okay, he listens. He wants her to know that he listens. And they really hit it off very well. There's a photo booth there. So they do sneak away into the photo booth and take some really cute couples shots. It'll be really nice if they end up together to say, this is how we met, or this was our very first date. They have documentation of the first day they met, which was really cute. They are getting flirty and kissy faces and all that stuff. He's like, oh, don't play with me. I might close this, curtain. And they do close the curtain and, I guess they kiss. But either way, it was a really cute date. I think they hit it off. They liked each other from the beginning. I don't know if you guys recall the first night mixer at the estate. There was Libba, Aisha. Sorry, I don't know if I called Aisha. Aisha, Frank, and Libba were in a conversation. They were talking about tattoos, and Libba started talking about tattoos in places people probably shouldn't know she had unless they found them on their own, in the bedroom. But anyway, Aisha and him were having a good time. They both have tattoos. They have some stuff in common, and he definitely listened to her. Okay, next up is Carrie and Tyrone. If you guys recall, last week, Tyrone said that first he was interested in her. Then all of a sudden, I guess he started building connections with other people. Carrie says it just seems like out of nowhere, he comes back and he's like, you know what, Carrie? I don't like you like that. I was mistaken. She was like thrown off. And then we hear Shiloh chime in and says that he doesn't have the capability to date more than 3 women. And apparently he has 3 women he's interested in, and Carrie is not one of them. Carrie said that he did not properly handle her, and so she wanted to have a conversation with him. So this is that conversation. So we already know his nervous energy, is awkward energy, is I don't really want to be here energy. And yeah, it's never going to go well. So Tyrone and Carrie meet, and basically she says that she felt like he mishandled her. Tyrone wants closure from this whole thing. He says, you know what? I felt like you were kind of aggressive. I guess apparently they were somewhere and Shiloh and him exchanged numbers. He says at the corner of his eye, he saw Carrie's body language, or she kind of frowned or something. And so it definitely sounds like there was a miscommunication on their parts. It sounds like Carrie was coming from a place of, I show interest. That's what she said. I showed you interest. And he was taking it as you're being too aggressive and you don't want me to exchange numbers and talk to other people. So, he also mentions that I guess he went on a date with someone else. He gets home at midnight. Carrie sends him a text message and says, hey, are you still interested? Like, as in her. He says, you know, he didn't respond. He didn't see it until first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, he doesn't have an answer to that question. He likes other people. And so that's when he decided, you know, I guess he was going to call her and let her know that, you know, he's not really into it anymore. Because it seems like she was like pressuring him or trying to mark her territory. Where Carrie was saying, I was letting you know my interest and I was trying to check in with you. They kind of agree to disagree. Tyrone says he felt like she was kind of aggressive. And she said that's not where she was coming from. She was just trying to let her interest be known. And she wanted him to take the word aggressive off the table. It is a strong word for any man to use when describing a black woman. We all know that it is a trigger for a lot. And what he explained did not come across as aggressive. I mean, if he was in the predicament that Cornelius and Camille is in, that, my friend, is aggressive. That, my friend, is marking your territory. That, my friend, is telling all the women he's my man and y'all need to stay back. Carrie, to me, I didn't get those vibes. So, basically, I guess they're going to agree to disagree, but you could tell that he's uncomfortable with confrontation and all that stuff, and it just wasn't a good fit. So she said she didn't apply pressure. She was just showing interest, and she just felt like he didn't handle her correctly. Moving on. Next up, there's Cornelius, Courtney, Camille, and Corey. So there's a double date. We know that Courtney likes Camille. Corey set this date up, and he likes Courtney. And then, I'm sorry, Cornelius. Courtney likes Cornelius. Cornelius likes Courtney. Cornelius also likes Camille. Camille only likes Cornelius. And then Corey also apparently likes Courtney. So he set this up as a double date with him and Courtney and then Camille and Cornelius. And they are at a skating rink. And so that's out of people's comfort zone. It's not your average, you know, we're going out to dinner date. And so it was really a cute little double date. Camille looked like she can't skate, but Cornelius is being patient with her. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be kind of awkward because he likes both of them. And Camille is super possessive, which Carrie was not. Camille is super possessive when it comes to him. And I think Courtney said something like, Corey is a Kappa. I didn't get that from him in his thing. I know that Walter was, but he does not have that smooth, debonair qualities that I usually see in that. But hey, it's Corey. Maybe, I don't know. Cornelius and Camille have been having FaceTime calls. They've been enjoying it. They talk about, waiting for sex. And, that's something that they both want. They talk about finances and student loans. And he asked her, like, do you have student loans? And she's like, well, honestly, I do. I think she said multiple masters. She's working on her PhD. She has multiple degrees. She has multiple student loans. Camille, I know the feeling. And he says he's basically liking to live a debt-free life. And, they have deep conversations, I guess, about things that really matter. Because they have been having these like nightly FaceTime calls and things like that. So they are getting closer to one another. Cornelius says that he is flattered by her possessiveness, but it's a little bit on the borderline. There's a thin line, and it could be a red flag, but it seems like he actually likes it because if he turns around and looks at Courtney, she'd be like, what you looking at? Why are you looking at her? I'm like, Camille, calm down. But I guess she'd be doing it in a joking manner. He kind of likes it. Courtney thinks that Corey is sometimes always doing too much, which we all know that to be very true. They were having this very uncomfortable conversation. I can't even recall what the conversation was about because it was so uncomfortable. Like when you're skating and there's like this wall on the opposite side. So it's like she was standing against the wall and he's like cornering her, basically just like facing her. And when I say she was not even looking at him, she would just be looking to the side. You could tell she was not comfortable in that situation. And he's just talking and talking. And she's like, oh, you're going to get closer. So now I'm even acknowledging to you that I'm not feeling comfortable in this situation. Did Corey move? No, Corey did not move. I was like, this is a mess. So I don't know what he was talking about. But before the date is over, he goes over to, I think, the skate lady, the person who takes her skate rentals. And he had said that he had ran out real quickly because he wanted to really show her something different and that he really likes her. He's really interested. He had gotten her flowers. So he surprises her with some flowers. And it just seems like she melts. She says she enjoys it. And I guess now Courtney has Corey has moved up Courtney's list. Okay, so needless to say, we didn't see much of Cornelius and Courtney interaction, but because Camille was on that date, that was never going to happen. Other than the first hug when she got there and Camille was like, that's enough, that's too much. Ooh, Camille, girl. Okay, next day is Walter and Mumi. Now, that was an interesting date I didn't actually see coming. Like I said, Mumi is gorgeous. I really love her. Walter's a nice looking guy. So I'm like, okay, they actually do look kind of good together. I think she's younger, but he is 46. I can't remember how old Mumi is, but she has to be older than 30 because Courtney is the youngest and she is 30. Okay. She said that there were sparks that flew when they were at happy hour because they weren't really checking for each other initially, but then there were some sparks at happy hour and they looked like they were walking through this botanical garden. So I was like, oh, that's super cute day. They're flirting, they're holding hands. She says she likes how they can just talk about any and everything. And she asked him, does he want marriage again? He said he definitely does. And he also wants kids. You know, he wants to be married first. He says that his dad lives in the Philippines and that they don't have the closest relationship. And she asked him, you know, have you tried to reach out to your dad and try to, you know, get it back on track? And he said he has. It just hasn't worked out. He's written him like this long letter, and then he got like this really short reply like, hey, I'm at your sister's house on the porch or something. Like, it wasn't even what he was expecting. So he said he's come to terms with it, and you know, so he opens up to her. They seem like they have a really good time. She does say that she also kind of has some daddy issues. She's gone through therapy. And, you know, yeah, that's basically it. Now, she does call him Zaddy, and he says, ooh, I like that. I'm like, oh, Lord. He was like, that's why you like older men or whatever. She was like, well, maybe Zaddy. So, yeah, they like each other, apparently. He does give her a back ride. I was like, oh, no, this could go wrong. But it didn't go wrong. It went just fine. He did not drop her. She did not fall. And it was a cute little day. Okay, next up we have Phil. Now, we didn't see Phil last week, but we have Phil and Carrie. We have Dante and Shiloh, and they are at a gym. So Dante, I believe, is a fitness person. I don't know if he's a personal trainer or what, but I believe that is what he does. So I think this was a date he set up, and it's kind of like a double date. They're working out. It just seems like the entire time. So how it's set up is you have Shiloh, intimacy coach. You have Dante, who, him and Shiloh actually had a lot of connections on the last two episodes, with her dad, her being from Trinidad and Tobago, his stepfather. They had a lot of conversations. They went on a couple of dates where they were mixing and mingling. Then you have Phil, and then, Carrie, and then Phil. So it's like girl, guy. Now, Carrie and Dante are just kind of doing a lot of back and forth talking to one another, like they're kind of flirty. So like the two on the end are just like, they're just doing a workout at this point. But it's a lot of tension and flirtation and all that stuff. And you know, they got to list. I ain't gonna say skimpy because it's workout clothes. So they're kept on tight, form-fitting clothes, and the men looking at them when they're bending over. And they just have a really good workout. They're sweating. And basically Carrie is like, oh, I could do this. And Dante like, you sure? And he just like keeps putting more weight on her. And like she says she's handling it. But it looks like there's like a little flirty banter going on. And then they break off. So Phil and Shiloh break off, and then Dante and Carrie stay back. And they're talking, and they both kind of say that they didn't never really feel a connection. So they were trying to see if, if there was anything within there. But it was crazy because when they were actually having these workout session, it seemed like they just had witty banter going back and forth and flirtation, like they really did like each other. But it seems like neither one of them really feel like the other person likes them. So then there's Phil and Shiloh. I think Phil said he hadn't really talked to Shiloh before. He wanted to get to know her. She says he seems like he'd be a good teddy bear. And they have a really good banter. They are talking about meditating. He's like, oh, you'll have to teach me. I'm like, I like Phil. I think he is the most attractive guy. Him and Walter, I think it's different. Like, they are different vibes, but I like both of them. But I really like Phil. If I had to go on the show and date somebody, it would probably be Phil. He's 37. And I think he works with government contracts, but I don't know exactly what he does. I can't recall. Anyway, throughout their conversation, they are getting closer. It seems mutual. And he does say that he thinks that she has really risen up his list and he's really checking for her right now. Okay, so the next day is Naeem and Zadia. Now remember, they went on this like group setup that Zadia put together, but she was always liking Naeem and Dante. So they do a mixology class, which is actually super cute. And basically, she was saying that she's protective and, she spoils herself with whatever she wants. And he's like, okay, very, very interesting. And they're touching and their energy and they're vibing after they make the drinks and they're sitting there chatting. And it just is real sexy, intimate, dark lighting, very moody. And I really like it. I really like them together. I really like their vibe. So I think I would ship them. I think Naeem and Zadia would be a good fit. Next up, we have Frank and Tysia. Now, remember, she was in the bottom, I think, on the first week. They wanted to send her home. And then I think last week, she only went on like this group date and nobody was really feeling her. So I'm like, okay, cool. She actually has a one-on-one date. I think we're at his bar, but I don't know. No one else is there. He's like mixing this drink up behind the bar. It's so funny though, because when he gets to the shake, honey, he got this. When I say the motions, it's like he shaking way harder than I was shaking. I was like, I don't know if it's like all that, but you got a good arm workout in. He shook it up, honey. And, they just basically were talking. And what I got, it was like Frank was like, he really just asked her out because he hadn't really caught a vibe with her. He was trying to see. And let me tell y'all, there's no vibe. Every time they're talking, like her conversation steers to her business. I just quit my job. I just became full-time entrepreneur a year ago. My business just turned 1. Like it was nothing else to it. And basically he understands too. He said there really was no romantic thing. Everything was definitely about her profession. And I'm like, dang, I don't think she knows this because maybe that's how it was on the first night too, which is why she was in the bottom. And so hopefully somebody can tell her and she can correct course. Okay, next we in the men's cave. That was all the dates. Nephew Tommy is there and basically he like, okay, let me know who y'all feeling. So you got Corey who likes Moomy. Remember he changed her tire and they went on that first date on a hike. He also likes Courtney, the one he double dated with and took on the skating date. Tyrone says he likes Sabrina. Sabrina's the 45-year-old fashion designer. And Shiloh is his number 1. So I was like, okay, makes sense. Remember when Shiloh told Carrie, like, let me add some insight on this? He called me after he talked to you, but that's because she was one of them top 3, and apparently she's his number 1. He says they FaceTime, they have late night calls, and Phil over there looking like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting in his mind. To the confessional, he's like, okay, so I got to remember that, just because you're making connections with people, because remember he had moved her up the top of his list too. He said just because you're making connections with other people, you can't forget that they are making other connections. Cornelius says, of course, Camille is probably his first personally, but of course Courtney as well. They've had phone calls and she basically told him like the ball is in your court. I've told you I liked you and basically it's in your court. Tommy's like, is it worth it? He like, okay, yeah, it is. I want to, get to know her too. Walter says Moomy surprised him and, they had a good date. Naeem, of course, he says Zadia. Frank said he's not feeling Tysia. Tyrone said he is not feeling Carrie. And then because Sabrina does not want any kids, Cornelius is not feeling her. Okay, so now we're up to elimination. Naeem actually takes Carrie out, so she is in the bottom. And then Cornelius takes Tysia out. Tysia? I don't remember how to say her name. Anyway, now this is her second week in the bottom. So as far as when it was women's elimination, Naeem is talking to Carrie and he just gets right to it. Ain't no playing. I think the women know now, like the men were so clueless. So Naeem tells Carrie, he wants to get, she was like, oh, I want to get to connect with everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Not just focus on one. Naeem gets straight to the point. Hey, we had a deliberation. I don't know if you know it, but basically some people feel like they don't have strong connections with you, and that's basically it. Cornelius is on with Tysia, and he gets right to the point too. They don't mince any words, and he says, are you nervous? You kind of look nervous, and he's like, let's get right to it. People think that you're closed off and you're standoffish, and that your walls are up from night one. So he's like, I don't know if because you're in the bottom night one, you haven't really opened up to the fellas, and they're noticing that. And I wish he would have told her about the whole profession and everything was about profession, so she could have corrected that part of it. But he did not mention that where we could see it. Basically, Tysia stays around and Carrie is not ready to love. And I was like, dang, I feel like Tyrone was the sole culprit of getting her kicked out when all she was trying to do was find out if he was still into her or not. And guys, that is this week of Ready to Love. Let me know what y'all think. Now, I have been seeing things that people have been going in on Tyrone about his mental illness. He has PTSD and he's kind of socially awkward, just a tad. He has anxiety. And I think that is no reason to go in on this man. If he decided he could not handle 3 women, he couldn't handle more than 3 women. And that is fine. I do feel like there was a better way to approach it and to handle it, but to come for this man's character and who he is, I just think that's uncalled for. I have seen a post from Carrie, although she was eliminated and probably at the hands of Tyrone. She did stand up for him and say, I don't like how he's been treated. He is a nice person. I don't have any hard feelings. You guys shouldn't either. Give him some grace. Give her castmates grace. She's always going to root for them, which was very, very commendable. I don't know what's going to happen the rest of this season. I am seeing some connections starting to form. Nothing to write home about. Last season, I had already shipped 3 couples night 1. I think Cornelius and Camille, but I think Camille's going to get on his last nerve because he really likes Courtney, and she has an attitude when he likes anybody else or anybody else likes him. So that may not work out. I do like Aisha and Frank. I think they are cute together, and I think that might be the strongest connection that either one of them have right now. So let me know again what you guys think about this. Please subscribe to my channel. That is how you can support me. It is free to do so. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you can always be notified each and every time I post. I will be posting Ready to Love on a weekly basis until the season finale, the reunion, or whatever they have. So yes, please also check out my Simply Stacy merch. You guys can see a little bit in the back, but I have some new journals in. This is the Simply Loving is Love, Trust, and Mimosas for Brunch. Who does not love a good brunch? I love these hardcover journals. If you're looking for holiday gifts for your loved ones, children, teenagers, adults, they are perfect. They are just blank lined pages that anybody can use for anything. This is another one, Simply Grace Under Pressure. Simply is simply inspiring and motivating people to live intentionally. That is the brand. And as you guys can see on the back is the Simply Stacy logo. And you guys have seen this one time and time again, which is the Simply List. But these are just a few gifts. These are all under $15. I believe they are $14.80. It is at stacyhuddleston.com/shop. It will be on the screen. It will also probably be in the description box. So definitely check it out. And until next time, see ya.